Yeah, yeah, and I'm guessing what I'll do, I'll just start off with the same kind of intro, but I'll tell them it's a gear breakdown. Think we're good? All right. I don't really know where to start since I'm so used to the training videos. Okay, so we'll just start it like this. Hey everybody, welcome to the Orion Training Group YouTube channel. I'm going to do the first kit breakdown of, I guess, our page. We'll hopefully be able to do this with some other instructors at some point. But this is one of those things you hear the influencers say. I'm looking at you, Mike. People really want to hear a kit breakdown. People want to see what I'm wearing, and that sounds kind of lame, but it is true. You do get a lot of those questions. I run our social media. I get probably 100 direct messages a day, and a few of them sprinkled here and there about equipment, and they're good questions and things like that. A lot of them are, do we have a website? So I'll go ahead and get that out the way for the intros. We do have a website. OrionTrainingGroup.com is where our actual training courses are listed. We also offer t-shirts, things like that for merchandise through OrionConcepts.shop. If you go to our Instagram page, Orion_training_group, it's in the link tree. So all that stuff's available, pretty straightforward. Our email, oriontraininggroup.llc@gmail.com. If you have any questions about anything, you need to get any clarification, or you want a certain type of course listed, we do all kinds of stuff like that. So don't hesitate to reach out. I'll be the one 9 times out of 10 that you're talking to. So now that we got that out the way, there's no sponsors for any of this. This is all stuff, I'd say all of it actually was purchased. None of this was test batches or anything given away that I can remember, and if so, I'll correct myself later on. But we're going to start with the carrier, the center of the body, what protects your vitals. We'll, I guess, do the helmet next, talk about what's on my noggin, why it's there. Belt as well, some of the tools I'm using, and then rifle and pistol. I'm not really going to get into clothing and boots and all that kind of stuff, but just the stuff that people would usually ask the most about. So without further ado, this is a Velocity Systems Scarab LT. It's their lightweight version. It's got these breathable mesh backs that are padded. It's got articulating shoulders, and I've upgraded it with the Axle shoulder pads. These are really, really neat design that have a Tegris sliding element in them that is in between the foam. So it actually distributes that weight instead of these little skinny straps on the Scarab jamming down through the foam into your traps there. That Tegris spreads out the force. So it's really, really cool. I went from having a fair amount of trap irritation, not necessarily soreness, because if you wear your kit enough, your traps are not going to be sore from it, but just irritation from the pressure. Really good quality foam, so I can't say enough good things about Axle's shoulder pads and some of their other products as well. I'm just going to, like I said, start from the top and work my way down here. We'll start with the front plate bag here. I am not running a placard, and for years I did. Operationally on SWAT, we ran placards that had, from Velocity, that had different missions, right? This is a teaching rig. Most of what I'm doing now is teaching. Now you see in the background I do have a duty rig, but that's totally different. It's for patrol work. So when I'm teaching, 9 times out of 10, this is what I'm wearing, and so it's set up to be scalable for teaching, whether that's breaching, assaulter type stuff, CQB, but it is slick so I can go prone. I can work with a lot of things there. So I'm just using their Velocity Systems kangaroo flap that comes with it. It does have a pouch in here, hence the name kangaroo. And I have an aftermarket insert there, but it's custom made for me that has 3. You can actually fit 4, but I decided I wanted a couple extra little things up here up front. So I have one of these Therm battery carriers. Is it Therm? I've heard a million ways to say that. So a little battery sleeve in there. And then I also have the this Faction Tool dagger. This is co-branded with us, the Orion dagger. Really, really like this thing. So that is a people poker for weapon retention, and it's just there to make that teaching point, right? It's retained with a clip, so it's not coming out. As you can see, it's got a little rubber grommet around it in there that kind of holds it, because it creates, that rubber kind of mates up with the fabric, and that clip pushes it together. Working our way around, I am left-handed. I know a lot of you are jealous of that because it makes me super unique. But because I'm left-handed, on this side, this is slick. So when I'm working my draw and doing other things, I don't have any impediments here. Now, this is something I get questions about a lot. Velocity scarabs come with a three, I guess, stacked level MOLLE mesh cummerbund. I replaced that with the Ferro Adapt cummerbund, and then I upgraded the Ferro cummerbund with the Blaze Defense Systems quick release tubes. Now these are first spear tubes. Blaze Defense gets the tubes, makes this MOLLE adapter. I have had this specific one for 7 years or 6.5 years, and used it on God knows how many operations. And then of course it was mine. Took it with me when I left the sheriff's office, and now it's on this rig. And I only have it on one side. So I un-QD it, swim through, right arm in, QD it down, and it's good to go. It's never failed me. To do that, if you're going to do that modification, there is a video on my Instagram about it, but you're going to have to cut one of these little slots here where the 3 bands of MOLLE go in. You have to cut in between one of those so you can fit this thing. But I really like the structural cummerbund. So before we get to the back, I'll go ahead and look at the other side here. Again, same thing, structural cummerbund. From MOS Tactical, they make really good stuff. I have a pretty structural, rigid radio pouch. Now for teaching, because we want the ability to talk on so many different frequencies, I have a Baofeng UV5R, I think is what it is. I have a couple other radios that we're working with. That's just what's in it right now for this video. Disco 32 amplified PTT, and then I believe the radio, the antenna, the body-worn antenna system is a Nagoya something or other. I am not really the antenna nerd guy, but our antenna nerd person told me that this was good, so it was purchased. This is from Cattail, I believe. They make really good stuff as well. All custom ordered. It's got a quick detach link onto the radio. And then you can't really see it, and I'm not going to fish the radio out of here, but this is from Great Plains Creations, and it is a 3D printed little doodad that sticks on top of the Baofeng and bolts in. And what that does is it keeps you from, with your titties bumping all this stuff and messing up the volume, turning it on and off, and all that kind of stuff that you wouldn't inadvertently want to do, right? It also protects the radio if you drop it and stuff like that. So very, very handy thing to have. One other thing I'll talk about real briefly before we get all the way to the back. A good friend of mine, Soil Eater, known him for years now. Pray for him. He's got really bad elbows. When he watches this, he'll laugh about that. He keeps having surgery on his elbows. I don't know what that's about. But in the meantime, he's still able to sew, which is his main job other than being the police. And this right here that he makes is the shock tube retention. And it's just an elastic tube, but it's made at this certain width that when you coil up your dual lead lines, you can stick them in here. And if you're an explosive breacher, you know what I'm talking about. If you stick the lead line in there, you have some sort of dedicated placard or maybe some open mag pouches or something to put your initiator and maybe you're doing like an interior strip charge or something. You can store all that stuff, and you don't have to have a separate piece that makes any noise to hold your shock cord together. So that's what that's for. I keep it kind of tucked up here. Doesn't really bother anything. Handy to have if we're doing, some kind of explosives class. Working our way around the back, we have a Refuge Medical IFAK here. I really like this thing. The only downside is that it's freaking huge because it has a lot of stuff in it. What's cool is you can mount it upside down or right side up, whatever, but it's really easy to deploy. Once you get it out, you've got a ton of stuff in it. So look them up. Refuge Medical makes great stuff. It's got a tourniquet and a million other things in there that are great for your IFAK. We're not going to get super into what to have in an IFAK. That's not what the video is about, but I got that there. Always repping the KAP org, Keep Adolescence Pure flag on the back. Now, I get a lot of questions about the back of this carrier. This is Velocity's zip-on back pouch or panel or backpack. They have a couple different ones. This is not the Assaulter. They have that one that's got rows of pouches on it for bangs and stuff. This one, I am carrying, frankly, a lot of shit in. Sometimes I even put my nods in there in this Eagle protective pouch. Oh my God, it's an AOR-1. He must be a Navy SEAL. I keep a bunch of batteries, a bunch of chargers. I keep a Red Bull and some smoke, some flashbangs and stuff like that back here. But what really interests people the most is the breaching tool stuff. So again, I'm not going to do a video on it, but if I'm doing breaching or teaching that or whatever else, prefer the method that TEES teaches. That's Tactical Energetic Entry System, TEES. And Shane Foster, when he was with them, and Alan teach it this way, where you have a tool that is attached via lanyard under your arm. Picture my arms coming through here. If I was to lean over with this tool on my back, and I didn't have a lanyard that created retention under my arm, the tool's going to fall out. So this is a self-deploy method using a carabiner. Now on bolt cutters, you're always going to have a teammate restow those on your back for you, but you unclip this thing, you swim it out under your arm, and you can pull these bolt cutters out with this lanyard over your head, and nobody had to help you get to your breaching tool. Now, someone may have to help you stow them, but that's because of the nature of the bolt cutters. So those can be kept in this back panel pretty well. It's also made for hydration, so it's got the little hydration tube pocket in here. It's got a ton of room. Like I said, Walmart bag full of batteries in there. The individual batteries are in their own double baggies. Got all the chargers for the radio batteries, extra radio batteries, all that crap. Then you have these redundant layers in here that you can close up with shock tube, shock cord rather. You can put your hydration pouch or whatever else in there if that's what you're doing. And then you have another extra little admin pouch here. And quite frankly, if you don't carry extra toilet paper, you're wrong. So you maybe even would want to carry that in a pouch that you could get to yourself and not on your back. So that is pretty much the carrier in its entirety. Now we're going to go ahead and move straight to the helmet. So jumping right into the helmet, and we'll start from the front to the back. Obviously, everybody wants to know about night vision. Night vision is the cool, awesome thing to have. These are PVS 15s, which is now a little bit of an older model. They are what's considered a legacy item from L3 Harris, the people that actually make them. They're basically indestructible, which is why I picked them. Dive rated and all that other kind of cool stuff. They have a built-in illuminator, an IR illuminator that has different little indicators you can put on there for squad leader stuff and whatever else. That basically gives you a light source while you're using the night vision. Night vision only amplifies light. It's not magic, right? So I absolutely love these things. Pros and cons to them, we're not going to get super into. They are a little bit heavy, which will lead us into other parts of the helmet. I have them on a Wilcox mount. I'm extremely prejudiced against anything that isn't Wilcox. These are amazing mounts. They're super well made. Had it for years, can't beat it. And of course it's tan. Everybody wants something to be tan. That's super cool, right? Got a lanyard that frankly I just rigged up myself. The lanyard is important because this costs as much as a used car. And if it falls off my head and breaks, my wife will kill me and I'll be very sad. So if you buy something that expensive, use a lanyard, don't be an idiot. Mine is actually a radio retention tab from Soil Eater. He made this product that no one will ever use. Just kidding, love you, Dan. But it's way better for some other things, like night vision. So I've got a little carabiner on here. I loop it around. It's elastic, so it creates tension. Awesome. So working our way back, this is one of those things that I now see a lot of people running. Most of my former team runs Pyramex iForce goggles. These are industrial construction goggles that are Z87 plus rated. They're thermal dual pane. So in Louisiana, which is where we're at, fogging of things is really, really problem you have to worry about when you're changing temperatures. You know, you're inside in a cool vehicle, you go outside and you need to put your iPro on or whatever. It fogs up because, and Mitchell, who's down here filming this, standing behind the camera, can tell you the humidity here is ridiculous. It's 90% humidity today, 100 degrees outside. So you're walking into a sauna. These things don't fog up because they have a thermal dual pane system. Absolutely fantastic. They're also vented. You can't probably really see too well, but they're vented. So any sweat that builds up in and around your eye while they're touching, because they are full seal, which is great for stopping fragments, which is what they're for, it allows some of that moisture to vent out. So working our way back, let's talk about the Ear Pro. These are Peltor Contact 3s. And I said OpsCore out loud. It made me realize I should have told you what kind of helmet this was. It's an OpsCore. We'll get into that. Peltor Contact 3s, to me, probably the most rugged and durable of the Contact series. They've fooled around with all kind of different stuff, but had these for years, zero problems. Had another pair that I ran for 5 years with no problems. Never had any issues with it. I love that you can switch the mic to the right side, because as a lefty, when I'm shouldering, if that mic is getting moved around, it's annoying. So I have them on the traditional, I say traditional, but the Peltor arc rail adapters, because that's what this helmet has, is arc rails. So it's got a force to overcome tension system. Snaps them in pretty close to your ears. They have some issues, not really anything crazy. Working around to the back, we talked earlier about the 15s being kind of heavy, but you can see it's pretty balanced, and that is because I have a counterweight system. So the counterweight, what it does is, if you picture that was not there, this would be pulling my head forward, which is going to put strain on those muscles in the back of my neck. And for those of you that have night vision and wore it twice to flex and haven't actually used it for anything, when you wear it for a long time, like even 30, 40 minutes to a couple hours, it starts to wear out your neck if it's not properly balanced. Especially if you have something that you can't store in a more flat plane farther back over your head, right? So what the counterweight does is it keeps it a little balanced on your head, on your noggin there. Working all the way around to the other side, umbrella lighting is huge. So having a light on here that can cast directly onto the ceiling or can articulate down or back up onto the ceiling is extremely handy for a lot of things, but this one in particular is the, and I want to say it's Inforce. This is like a $150 light. They're plastic. Frankly, they're garbage for anything on a weapon. Not super durable. Probably broke 6 of them on my Mark 18, but they're great for being on a helmet because in this capacity, it's not a life-saving device. I can flip it to IR, and obviously we can't see that, but the idea is I can be putting out a lot of light that is reflecting off multiple surfaces, and I'm able to see better under my nods. Or when we're done with all the stuff we have to do and we're doing admin things, you know, secondary searches or zip ties or whatever, and I just need some light in the room I'm in without blinding the homies, I can turn this on and it casts white light for everybody off of all those vertical surfaces. And then a lot of debate on this. I have it just in case. V-Light, these are good for 24 hours. They're non-reusable, they're disposable. It is an IR marking system, so you turn it on, press it once, blinks, twice, constant on. This is an older model. A bunch of these are being thrown away, and I was like, do you mind if I keep one? And they were like, no. So there it is. But there's other stuff you can get, like the Hellstar system that is battery powered and has multiple modes, Viz and IR. So the purpose of those strobes, we're not going to get into the weeds on, but the idea is that you have some way to indicate when you're downrange or when you're in a team environment that you're actually one of the people that you're working with. Cable management is a big deal. What I'm using on this helmet is Multicam Tropic because I love Multicam Tropic. There's not a whole lot of helmet covers out there for the OpsCore bump that aren't just Chinese garbage, which is what this is. But again, it's not a life-saving device. It doesn't add any sort of real major retention or any sort of life-saving equipment is really held onto this. It's just a convenience thing. So in my opinion, it's not that big of a deal to get a $15 helmet cover to manage cables on a bump helmet that I'm using for teaching. So being able to have something that I can tie stuff off to, get these, you know, this little minutia out of the way, I can wrap my goggles around, that is very, very handy. So having a helmet cover is good for that. Depending on what it looks like under IR or, you know, in relation to your camo pattern, just having a helmet cover in general can also help break up the pattern of what a helmet looks like. If you go out in the woods with a black helmet and black night vision, you're going to stick out a lot because you have really irregular shapes, you know. It looks very obvious to the human eye. So that's pretty much the helmet setup. It functions very well for teaching. It's lightweight. A lot of people will say, well, why don't you just get a ballistic? If I'm wearing this in a teaching environment, I'm not necessarily as worried about a ballistic helmet. Now, if we're talking about being opposed, going out somewhere and doing a raid or whatever else, yeah, I'm going to want a ballistic helmet, but that's not what this is for. So remember, purpose, right? Purpose built. So that'll take us right into our belt now that we've done the chest and the head. Set this down over here. So the belt, I have a couple different belts, but this is the one we'll talk about that is set up for teaching. This is a recent addition. I'll go ahead and just start on the left-hand side, work my way around. So I actually just met up with Joe from Gray Fighter at a conference. He gave me this one in Tropic because he knows I like Tropic. This is a multi-purpose device that him and his team have developed. You can put it on your stock, you can put it on your holster. It can hold a tourniquet, it can be used for sling retention. Frankly, I'm just trying it out. I have not used it enough to recommend it or say it's good or bad. But the way it works is you put it under your Safariland 3-bolt pattern, whatever it is, whether you're using this quick detach or not. It runs around the front of the holster, and it has this adjustable elastic element that allows you to stow all kinds of stuff. So I think it's cool, but like I said, I haven't used it enough to say like, oh my God, best thing ever, you have to have it. So far in a few classes and a lot of reps, dry fire and moving through structures and stuff, nothing's gotten snagged or fallen off. But it's not really in a place where it's going to do that, I don't think. So there's that. The holster is a 6354 DO for Glock from Safariland. Of course, it's wrapped in Ranger Green because why the heck not? And it's lefty holster. So good luck finding this on their trash website. A friend of mine tried to buy one right-handed and it came in left-handed, and that's how I got this because I could never find anything. And I think he saw it was in stock and just ordered it. And then it came in, he was like, oh my God. So he just gave it to me. So lucky me. It's mounted on the lowest ride. So you can see here, trying to get it in between my face and the camera. But this gives me a little bit of clearance. I'm long-limbed, right? Built like a bullfrog. I got really long arms, long legs. This is not bad for me. I don't use any sort of limiter or stop on the actual holster itself here. So it's able to move and wobble a little bit and move with my leg as if I was walking, right? It's able to swing a little bit. And then of course I have that thigh strap just to give it a little bit of extra retention. A lot of debate on thigh straps. You know, if your draw is perfect, then you don't need one. But your draw is not always going to be perfect. And I like to have that little bit of extra security to keep the belt, which is just on there with Velcro, from coming loose or spinning on me, right? Hopefully that never happens, but if it did, at least I have another level of retention to keep it there. I do run my belt buckle maxed out to the holster. So this is the center line you're looking at here with the tourniquet holder. The belt is all the way over here, and that also throws a lot of people for a loop, and they ask a lot of questions about that. The reason why is the belt being in the center wastes some real estate because I can't really fit anything else here. But by putting it off to the side, I can use a little bit more of that central real estate. So we'll just work our way around. It is a Soy Leader Gen 2. He now has a Gen 3 as well. Belt-mounted tourniquet holder. This one also has a loop up here for Sharpies and whatever else. Of course, I'm running a cat tourniquet in it. I'm using S-Tac mag pouches, and you can see these are angled, including the rifle pouch. They do now, and when I got these, they didn't. They do now sell angled pistol mag pouches. And matter of fact, I actually have them on my duty rig here. These attach with one wrap, I think is what you call it, right, Mitch? So yeah, one wrap is super handy, but they still don't have a mag that does that. If I'm not mistaken, is it Shaw or Axle that's coming out with the angled mag? Shaw just came out with one, yeah. So the Shaw is kind of getting ahead of the game there, right? Well, a long time ago, maybe 18 months ago, I was like, man, I really don't like my mag being vertical and digging into all that crap on my side. Maybe I should just angle it like my pistol mags, and it worked great for me, but I did that with zip ties. And if you're white knuckling your keyboard right there, just bear with me. You can see some of those zip ties up here at the top. I just used 3 or 4 per pouch, zipped them really, really, really tight to get that fabric mated together. And when I say the fabric, I mean on the back of the S-Tax, there's a molly loop where you're supposed to use either, what do they call those things? WTF straps or whatever, I think is what they're actually called. It's a helium whisper material that self-locks. It's absolute trash. I hate them. Then they also have molly lock and tech lock and all this other crap, and it's big and bulky and it distances it off of you. By using that molly loop that's on the back of the mag pouch to the molly loop on the belt and getting those fibers mated together and zipped real tight, I'm actually getting a really, really secure purchase there. And like I said, I've run these thousands of hours, God knows how many, tens of thousands of dry fire reps, dozens of classes, no issues. Rolled around in the mud, run around, is what it is. Working our way around the back. I hope Blake's not watching this, but if he is, this is my Dumpy, my Whittle dump pouch, my nylon trash bag that I use every single freaking class because it's awesome and people should have one. Obvious reasons you should have this when you have to dump stuff in it. We're not going to get into that because it's pretty straightforward. Blake is punching the air right now. From here, all the way around the back, the last 2 items we have, and keep in mind this is my 6 o'clock, right? This is a Glock field knife. I grew up with these. It's tool steel. It's got a very aggressive serration on the back, made for sawing on trees and such. I mean, there's nothing to write home about on the sharpness, but it is basically a pry bar. You can do anything with it. It costs $30. The holster is very well made. It has good positive click retention. So if you're not looking and you have to put it back, it's like, oh, okay, I got that. And it drains out the bottom. So really, really, really awesome thing to have. You can, like I said, you can do breaching with it. It's very stout. And then last but not least, and in my favorite pattern, again, Entropic, the Spirit of Systems Gesta pouch. I'm not really sure how you're supposed to pronounce that. But this is kind of a catch-all pouch for different little admin things that we need. I keep ibuprofen and like Imodium and stuff in here. Little task lights, batteries. You've got to have your eucalyptus hand sanitizer with micro beads. And there's all kinds of other stuff. My EOD tool, Gerber EOD breaching tool, multi-tool. That was a gift from a team leader, and I use it all the friggin' time. All kinds of stuff you can keep in this thing. But honestly, probably my favorite thing about it, you know, I run the social media for Orion, obviously. I can stick my phone in this pouch, in this back part of this pouch, and oh my God, if that's not handy, then I have to dig into my pockets all the time. But that is a double-sided, don't get any ideas when you see this, guys. You can put a mag pouch in there, or a Kydex insert in there. You can put rifle and pistol, and it's just super handy. So there's a lot you can do with it. And like I said, I run a bunch of different belts. I'm really not partial to any of them. This is a Ronin. It was a birthday gift from a good friend, and I've had it for 3 or 4 years now. Ran it on SWAT for a while, been running it for training the whole time. Absolutely just kick-ass, fantastic belt. I also have a Safe Light or Safe Life, I don't remember which one it is. One of them is a window repair company, the other one makes armor and belts. And I have the belt from them for duty, and it's super rigid, right? Much more rigid than the Ronin. And I put this thing through its paces trying to get it to become flexible, and it hasn't. So I think it's just got a plastic layer in it or whatever. One thing I will say about the Ronin, if you're looking for a really, really rigid belt, this one's not it, but it is pretty well made, pretty rugged. And honestly, anybody will tell you it's worn for a long time. The belt is really made by the inner belt. If you get a really rigid inner belt, this is not going anywhere. So some different things to consider there. A couple things we can talk about before we get into the firearms portion, and we're really not going to get into that too much because we're on YouTube. Redundant medical. So you saw my Refuge medical pouch. Well, what about, I keep seeing this wire for the mic. I'm like, oh, what's on me? I love Fanny Packs. That could be a meme in and of itself. But they're such an easy way to carry a lot of things. They're super low profile. I have another one that is Tropic. I don't have it with me right now. It's in one of my vehicles as like a around the headrest or whatever. But I have multiple of them, and they're set up the same way. This one I actually use in my duty rig a lot, and I keep an extra notepad for you, Mike, right in the rain in the back. But I fit 2 chest seals, a bunch of gauze, actually a whole tourniquet, some SWAT tees, more ibuprofen, gloves, and shears in this thing. And it's not very big. I got this on Amazon for 20 bucks. And like I said, it's not, it doesn't have to have any kind of crazy retention. The stitching is good on it. The other one that I run that's Tropic that I don't have with me is made by Wisport or Ysport. It's the Toque pouch, which I think is hilarious. And I think that's actually made in Poland. And I ordered that from a British surplus company called Military First. They actually have a lot of really good options. They ship to the US within a few days of you ordering. So something else to check out. Medical from a fanny pack is awesome. You can, once you put it on, if you put it on correctly over your holster, you're able to actually spin it around front to back. So if you go prone with it, it's not digging into your pelvis. You can spin it around. But if you're in a vehicle, it's accessible. It's in front of you. A lot of you guys will run your, what is it? Is it High Speed Gear makes the one you pull out from the pouch on your back, or is it Coyote?
I think both.
Yeah, a lot of people make these little deployable ones that you pull off your back, right? That's great until you're sitting down or laying down on top of it and they're trying to move you around and look for your IFAK. Because you got to remember, this is supposed to be on you, used on you, and I like to have everything redundant. So 2 tourniquets on the belt accessible, tourniquet in there, tourniquet in here, extra tourniquets in the pockets. You cannot have enough tourniquets. You cannot have enough chest seals because I want people to use that crap on me. And I've been in plenty of situations where I didn't have enough and I ended up using it on somebody else. And that's a YouTube video for another time. A couple other things we can talk about before we get into the firearm stuff. Another thing you can carry on you that's really handy, and I'm a breacher at heart and by past trade. These are 2 more tools that I can carry in that, and there's other ways to carry them. I don't have the lanyard on it right now. Mini Halligan. This one is 16 inches, I believe, and get that from Fire Tools. And you attach it the same with a lanyard and a carabiner and put it on that kit. And that's another thing that we teach with and use. And then a fireman's wedge. Really good thing that I have in my kit. Even if I don't have it carried on the Halligan, I have some other ones. This one is some sort of carbon. The firefighter's wedge, I got it from Third Law. And this one's got anti-slip corrugation on it. Doesn't really weigh anything. You can stick it in a mag pouch, stick it in your pocket, but this is used for keeping doors open, which is pretty handy when you have to go through a door and you want to leave it open for teammates or egress path or whatever else. Some other small lightweight things I keep on it as teaching implements. And last but not least, that is going to bring us to the firearms. So we have a Glock 45 here that is a custom cut for my SRO. This is something that I'm teaching with, right? People are probably looking at the slide cuts and just absolutely going into a 4chan moderator rage right now because they read one time that if you get grit in there, it could stop the function of the pistol. Don't worry. This is what's used for duty. Similar enough, right? Anyway, depending on your agency policies, red dots and all that stuff, worry about that later. Starting at the front, it has an agency threaded barrel. Now, if you shoot a Glock a lot suppressed, you run the risk of blowing a lot of lead and carbon back into that firing pin or firing pin assembly or whatever it's called. Not a Glock armorer, but I've seen it happen a few times. And the firing pin can actually get stuck from lead and a bunch of crap in there. So you want to avoid doing that if possible. We'll go ahead and have a cameo here. Everyone say hello to Bella. Cannot keep her out of the studio. She's been walking around for 10 minutes. So from the back, from the front to the back, Dawson iron sights. These are suppressor height sights. They're not going to co-witness with your red dot. Don't try to co-witness with your red dot. Don't worry about that. I got these a while back. They say to oil them. I don't do that too much, but you will. Something to be aware of. They are carbon steel, and they will rust. So you may have to put a light coat of oil on those. Running a TLR HL, I actually really like this light, especially as a left-handed person, because I can flick the constant on with my offhand. Huge fan of them. They're very bright, easy to use. They attach really well. Rock solid attachment point compared to some of the Surefire versions, but we don't have to get into that debate. I just made a bunch of people mad. For an optic, using an SRO. I love the SRO. I know there's that one guy who dropped it or something and it broke and said it wasn't duty rated, but a lot of people use this thing for duty. The battery life's amazing. Still never changed the battery on it. I've had it for 2 years. It does have light sensing functions, so if you have that on, it's fantastic. I love the viewing window of it. A lot of people that are working with the RMR and the Acro and all these other smaller windowed or enclosed emitters, I need to get an enclosed emitter, frankly. I'm working on another build for that. But for what it is, I love this thing. And I wouldn't say that it's not duty rated, but neither here nor there. Cogworks extended slide release thing is fantastic. So, especially as a lefty, if you're doing the reach under, you can find it a lot easier. It is, of course, ambidextrous. So, that is super handy. Running an SLR extended magwell here. Of course, that's supposed to make reloading easier. That's also a topic of debate. And a long time ago, I was taught and told that painting the inside of your magwell will make your reloads easier, so your eyes have something to pick up. So that's what you're seeing inside there, if you notice that. And from front to back, that's pretty much everything that's been changed or added to or done on this pistol. Absolutely love it. That's what I'm running for now. So, we'll, like Mike does, we'll go tip to butt here, okay? Don't have the suppressor cover on it, but normally I run a burn proof, but for right now it is gone. I am running an Ackless Saber 360 suppressor. This is a 36 caliber can, which means it can shoot 9mm pistol rounds through it. It's pressure rated for 300 Win Mag, and is also full auto rated for a 10.5 5.56. So it's a fantastic can. I think it's got 5,000 rounds on it right now. I love it. I have no issues with it. We're attachment system for the can. We're using the Q Cherry Bomb and the Plan B. We could probably do a whole separate video on that thing. Running a Mod Light PLH V2 with, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mitchell, is this the Mod Button? It's the square panel?
Yes.
Okay, Mod Button. Absolutely love this setup. This thing has a rechargeable battery. Pros and cons to that. We don't have to get into that, but that is what I'm running. We have the L3 Harris next generation aiming laser. The Ingall is what I'm using for an IR device. Obviously, you need that to be able to run your nods to the most effective level. This thing is awesome. Don't really have to oversell that. I am left-handed, so the way I have this thing set up is such that I can manipulate my light and manipulate my laser independently with thumb and middle finger while getting nice, good purchase on the rifle. This rifle is a piston system from LWRC. The upper, sorry, is a piston system from LWRC. So it has an adjustable piston here. You don't need any tools or anything. You switch it suppressed, unsuppressed. Runs like an absolute champ. The rails that come with it, it's a proprietary rail system. You can put them kind of wherever you want. That brings us to the iron sights. In order to be able to run this thing, to be able to C-clamp on it, and I got big hands, I didn't want to, on this 10.5, not have this thing all the way to the front because I'd be wasting extension on my arm. So the iron sights are run to the rear, and you're probably thinking, well, damn, he's got that riser, he can't even use his iron sights. Well, the EOTech's a QD, so if it really got that bad, and this failed, I can QD that off, and I still use my iron sights over the top of the riser. So moving down a little bit, we'll get to the riser in a minute. Actually not a fan of QD at all, but working on another way to attach these using some 550 cord. But we're running an Edgar Sherman Designs sling. I absolutely love these slings. We actually sell them now after me using them for 2.5 years. I've had this one for that long, and a little sun damage because I've had it for a while. A little bit of wear and tear just from this thing. Yeah, oh, that's right. We do have the other video. Thank you, Mitchell. He's standing over there behind the camera just judging me. He's like, God, he's so long-winded. We do have another video on this, the Edgar Sherman Design Sling and sling management. So refer back to the channel for that. I don't know if you can put a plug to that in the video or not. But anyway, absolutely love these slings. Go watch the whole freaking video we did on it. Thanks for that, Mitch. So one good thing about QDs is they're quick. You just get that out of the way. All right, so working our way back. Now we have got an EOTech EXPS 3, I believe.
Night vision setting.
Yeah, it's got the night vision settings.
3.0.
Yeah, 3.0. So night vision settings basically useless. It's just a way to sell things to people. It's only really good for if you've mounted a rifle mounted setup on here, like a PVS 14 and the adapted scope rings or whatever else. But for running your tubes, it's a non-issue as long as they're not on like max brightness setting. There's a kind of a happy medium you can find. Come to some of our night vision classes, we'll talk more about that, where you can run it, where you flip your tubes up and you can still see the death donut with the naked eye. It is sitting on the Overbore Systems Kinu mount. Now, I've had this is a prototype. You can see it says it there. Had this for a while. There's the actual product's been released. This is like a version 2, I think, and like version 4 is what was actually released. So waiting on a couple of those. Tyler, if you're watching this, please hurry. I'm excited because I have some tan ones coming, and everybody loves tan for some reason. What that does is place your optic center line at 2.33, and when you're running night vision or comms or anything else, it allows a neutral head position when you find your optic, find your dot. So very, very, very helpful thing to have. Obviously the iron sights are mounted where they are for obvious reasons. We got a Raptor charging handle, and it is the SD version of that. So yeah, that on a piston gun is pretty redundant, but some people say it helps, and I rather enjoy the actual charging handle itself, so why not get the best tier of it, right? So the furthest most portion almost had stock. I'm running a brace on this because it's 10.5, and I'm putting this all over the internet, so I don't want my family or my cats to get murdered for no reason. It's the SBA4 we decided. You get basically the same benefits as the real thing without getting murdered, so that's pretty cool. The actual lower that we're using is the American Defense Manufacturing UIC3, the ADM UIC3, and it's fully ambidextrous, and I love that as a left-handed person because for me, I've been fighting my whole life in a world where it was made for all you people. So if I took my magazine and I inserted it here, my thumb lands right on the bolt release, the ambi bolt release. It was designed that way because they actually paid attention to how hands are made. A lot of other people that have these lowers put that bolt release like over here. And I've got big gorilla hands, so I can still hit that, but if you have little bitty baby hands, you can still use the ADM UIC3 and they won't pick on you like other companies. And again, this is all accessible with your trigger finger. So mag release, bolt hold open, bolt release, it's all super easy to use. So I love the ADM lower. If you're watching this, guys, I hope you one day make one without this stupid waffling. Otherwise, it's basically perfect. That brings us to the grip. So the grip is made from, it's by Reptilia, and it is the CQB grip, I think is what they call it. It's pretty short. I mean, you can see the meat of my hand is hanging off the bottom of it. But I prefer it to the K2 is what I had before. Before that I had God knows what. This has been my favorite so far. And then it was custom done. A student ordered this for me from Clutch Kinetic. He does really cool custom work on stippling, and then he'll do little designs for you. So obviously that says OTG. So I love this whole setup. This is my favorite rifle I've ever had, owned. Really not a whole lot else to say about it. So just something to keep in mind if you've been watching this and you were dumb enough to spend like 40 minutes of your time listening to me talk about my stuff. This could change at any moment. I may get something that, matter of fact, I know I'm going to get something that's going to replace this soon. More on that later. You know, just because somebody on the internet said to buy it doesn't mean it's good. Go look at other things, you know. If you saw something you liked on my kit, feel free to message us on Instagram. We talked about that at the beginning. You can leave a comment on this video and I'll try to address whatever issue or question it is you have. But make sure you vet your stuff. Don't just buy it because somebody online said they liked it. See if it works for you. If you're able to find something similar at a lower price range, don't break the bank. Like Lucas always says, don't go buy night vision just because it's cool. Get something that is within your means. And the most important part, none of this matters if you don't train, right? It's not Orion Gear Group, it's Orion Training Group. So good equipment is really important. Good training is far more important. So do me a favor, if this video inspired you in any way, I hope that it is to go put your stuff on, go train, go for a run, do some pull-ups, you know, touch grass, get some sunlight, all those things. But thank you guys for watching. Please remember to like the video and subscribe. That helps me and Mitchell out immensely. He's putting in a ton of work producing these things, and he deserves your subscription. So thank you all so much, and hope to see you at the next video.